Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, Train Man, and welcome back to this thing, Zombie Train. We're working on the Tamaraos Vale and Anaconda Railway, as always. Just kind of patching holes. Today we finished the last of the terraining in this section, which is very good. That's about it for the things that happen that are interesting. I do quite a bit of texturing, and I do some little detail placement. I go back to the Arturo Swamp and I put more little shrubs and stuff down. Still haven't gotten to the stumps, but I'm going to save those as kind of a side project to reduce the monotony of texturing, which is quite something, I'll be honest. But speaking of monotony, before I get into the things that really, because I started kind of note-taking, thing that I want to talk about this episode, I will point out that somebody suggested in the comments, your name escapes me. I know you said you're going to critique these videos more. Either way, person takes claim for it, and I say it's right, or if I don't say anything, I guess that was you. Good job. Good ideas. Now, the reason it's a good idea is because I don't have to yammer this whole time. Firstly, second of all, you don't have to listen to me this whole time, and thirdly, it means that I can kind of. I don't want to bring down the video length even more. It's kind of a respectable length. Half an hour is something now. Maybe I should bring it down more. I don't know. I never feel like. Sometimes I don't feel like I have enough time to talk. Sometimes I feel like I have far too much. So it's kind of a happy medium that I have to find. Anyways, it was suggested that I include music, that I talk for the beginning and then put music over and then continue. Problems with that. I think it's a great idea. But problems with it. Once again, the time thing. Second of all, I don't know where to get the music. Now, I could throw in a couple of random songs, and that would be alleviated is if I, left this at about 3x, 2.5x, depending on what works, and then threw it up to 8x or 5x, something higher, in terms of, times speed. Just make it simple on the words. Anyways, just to sort of get that part mitigated. But the thing was, I didn't want to go scouting around for songs all the time, and even though I was, finding some good stuff out there on the web, it wasn't something that I was interested in doing. Instead, I was looking for tools that would procedurally generate maybe piano music or something like that, which I think would be interesting. Now, an alternative is if you guys want to hear a specific piece of music put in over this, as long as it's free, or even especially if one of you guys is kind of an up-and-coming that would like me to feature their music, which would be really, really cool if somebody sent me something they made. But anyways, I was looking for a random but music generator that would kind of, handle it for me. I could record a certain length, and it would be different every time, so I wouldn't have to worry about accidentally picking the same piece of music. So it would just kind of make things easier, it would make things more interesting, because I could say, the music on this video was done all by a computer, and that's really cool. Among other things, it would make things interesting, and it would make things a lot easier, and it would make things kind of different as well, because not too many people have computer-generated music in their videos. One person I can think of, really. Looking at you, CGP Grey, you're cool. Anyways, humans do not apply for this position of composer, but go ahead and do it anyways. And if you want to hear something in the background of a thing, I'll speed up the episode to kind of fit the piece of music, or slow down, depending on what it is. As long as I can legally air it on YouTube without with ad revenue, without getting the video flagged and taken down, which has happened, that is just fine by me. Anyways. So, this episode, we do a thing. Now, I'm not really sure, I covered everything we do here. Now this is one of the backdrops that I wanted to get done, and I'm glad that I finally did. Because it kind of completes the Arturo scene. Even though we're missing some stuff, we've still got some gray. And don't even mention the other side of this railroad track here. It's just, you know, it's something to work on another day, on another section. But, it's kind of, it completes the piece, as in we're all set and done. For the town of Arturo, at least. We've still got, like, once again, we've still got stuff to do elsewhere. Either way, it's going to make for a nice facade. So, coming in and doing some retexturing just to patch some stuff up, and then we come over here and start work on the terraining section. Now, while I'm working on that, I have a couple more things to say about the voting and how the voting for the next section and how doing the alphas are related. The way they're related is that in one case you vote for something, and in the second case you receive said something. If you get where I'm going, that's great. Point is, vote for what you want to use. For example, if you wanted to go to, if you wanted to run a train out to Lambert Groves, up the wood place up in the hills above Galgora, vote for that. If you want to utilize portals, vote for Temeros to Portal, and that'll also rebuild Temeros, for those of you complaining about it, which should be basically everyone, because it's terrible. But my point is, what you want to vote on shouldn't be, both what you want to see built and what you want to have built, as in what you want to use now that the alpha is out there, and I'm going to be updating it now. I'm not sure. I don't think there was any decisive comments on at what point you wanted me to release this, so I guess it's just gonna wait for you know, for this section to be completed, which isn't that far out in the grand scheme of things. And then we're going to go ahead and get this all set. Now, my goal, this is episode 101. Our next run session is episode 103. Now is a good time to start telling me what you want to see in that video. Except I'm not a video ahead, so do it anyways. Either way, next episode, the thing I want to do is I want to wrap up the other side of the mountain there. And I don't mean terrain-wise, because it's already done. I want to wrap it up texture-wise. I want to have that all set, so that we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about the looks when we're running over the pass, which is very likely to happen. I believe somebody said they want to see some modern diesel on a long coal train, and I said that's just fine. And so that's more or less definitely going to be part of the scenario, and it's probably, because it's the first thing I heard, it's probably what I'm going to work around. And I have a couple things that we haven't done in a while that I could think about doing. But right now we've got more standard gauge to play with than narrow gauge. If you saw when we had Temeros and Galgora, you know, it'd be more standard gauge. But when we had Temeros, Sesquica, and Caps, I did more narrow gauge because we had more of it. Now we've got more narrow gauge now we've got more standard gauge to play with. So that's something that's going to be kind of a game changer in the selector of what I'm doing. If you've noticed these last videos, they've been standard gauge. The last run sessions. Because we've got more of it to use. It's fantastic. We had the Summertime Rush, which was in between. But that was before TARDIS Pass got really all set. Good enough to run on, rather. I do realize that we've also got a couple of opportunities to utilize the 2-foot gauge, now that we have it running into Arturo. But I'm not sure I'm going to dabble with that too much, because finding things to run on it gets tricksy. I have been thinking about ways to get, I could make an asset pack for the Temeros Vale and Anaconda Railway, once it gets moved over into 12. That's a whole different story for 06. Because 06 I'm trying to do it with largely or mostly built-in assets, or as much built-in as I can, and the rest you can just kind of pick up. Now, if anyone's running it on 06, if you can tell me if there's anything that's missing. Of course not with this version, because we've added a lot more. But if there's like a building that you ought to have, or a tree spline, or some other little piece of decoration that you should have, or that are in this map, and you don't have, that's something important to tell me, because odds are, at that point, it's likely the Marias Pass route that has the stuff that you don't. And now, I'm not saying go out and buy Marias Pass Plus, because it's expensive. It's a great route, but it doesn't make it any less cheap. It doesn't make it any cheaper. I had decided to add this because I wanted to give this area a little bit more depth in terms of variation. Got this over here, so we got this drainage ditch. I don't think I come in and fix that later, because that's something that we will work on. Probably, if I can slate it for anything in particular, it'd probably be episode 104, where we come in and work on this area again, and that's much towards the end of our saga. Now, we also do a lot of the mountainside texturing, which is a very high priority, especially towards the TARDIS Pass side, because it's something we're going to be looking at and running over. So I come up here and kind of look at the stuff and go, I don't know, I'm not touching that. Go through here for whatever reason. I believe I was looking for something in particular, but I don't remember what. Oh yeah, and I remember somebody complaining about the Yardig Algora being small, and I was like, it's small? Anyways. So here we go again. By the way, you'll see later, I took someone's suggestion and just painted a mountainside, and decided to see if I could put the texture lines on it after that, and decided that it was not a good idea. So we're back doing it the old-fashioned way. Well, it's good in theory, it's not good in practice, because I can't see the shadows very well, or the little changes, without going into grid mode. And of course, texturing in grid mode is not something you want to do, because you can't see the textures. So we're working on this stuff. We're just kind of painting in between the lines. Now, this is the stuff we learned when we were in elementary school or kindergarten or preschool, depending. So it should be a pretty, straightforward skill. It's astonishing how difficult it becomes after a few years of being out of practice. Like, I haven't touched a coloring book in so long, I should have done some to practice, to essentially studying for the final that is building TARDIS Pass. Though this is not the final, this is just a test. Just a test. I wonder what the final will be. I can't speculate as to what the last piece of route that we ever build will be. Now, of course, I can tell you what it could be, but I don't know which one it will be, because there's a lot more pieces of route to cover. If somebody were to ignore, say, Caps to Ollerston, which probably deserves a new name, but Caps to Ollerston, I don't think anyone would, go home crying for the one little spur of the narrow gauge. Oh, technically it's the main line that weaves into the forested hills and is dead end. But, yeah, there are some areas that are things that we definitely will do before the end. Like, for example, Arturo to Meest, which also needs a name. Arturo to Meest, things like Galgora to Lambit will become important. Caps Junction to Modico. I'm just thinking of things that are important that we do right now. Now, I could totally see Temeros to Portal being one of the last things we do. Which would be kind of unfortunate considering how important that area will be and how it includes, I guess the, whoa, dear me, turn that off. How important the portal will be, and now that it's coupled with the rebuild of Temeros, I suppose that becomes a little bit more appetizing of a thing to work on. Oh, I decided to put more of these. I don't know where these would go. I decided not to. I decided to carve into the landscape to demonstrate where these would go. But it's something I'll figure out. This area will be forested. I'm not sure what kind of forest we're going to have in it. If it's going to be the Maple Beech Birch spline that we're so used to, or if it's going to be something else. For example, the trees that we used on the side of, Skyfall Ridge. Which we probably will be making more use out of, because they're a nice tree set, even though it requires a lot of clicking, or some copy-pasting, which could be just as good. But, yeah. One of the difficult things about that is when you're putting it on a slope like I was, you've got to kind of adjust the stuff carefully, or else you get trees that are either floating in the air or half buried in the ground. And that is, as one would say, it's suboptimal. So, we're going to try to be careful if we decide to go that route. So, I believe at some point I show on the map how much I've done. Yeah, I've done plenty. Even though I come back to it at the end, I do come back to different sections, as a matter of fact. But it's an important thing. It's one of the, it is probably the defining terrain feature of TARDIS Pass, the massive ridge that goes between it and the river on the other side that doesn't have a name. Okay, something about this. I decided to divide this up. It's kind of arbitrary. I decided to divide it up and leave in the rivulets for most of it, and put grass down next to them with trees. And that's kind of incongruous, but the reasoning for it was that this area has kind of a shallow enough curve that it'll just grow over on its own. So, it's not, a necessity to have it mountainous. And when I originally put in those rivulets down there, I was kind of worried about the way they looked on such a flat surface, and now I realize what I'm going to do to fix that. Because it doesn't mean we don't have rocks poking up out of the dirt, but it means that dirt is covered in grass and trees. It has vegetation. Anyways, I think I get tired of this right about now and go back and work on the Great Arturo Swamp. I've realized that this area is beginning to cause FPS drops, and I don't think it's going to get any better as we add more trees. But there's a limit to the amount of trees you can stick in a confined area, and there's a limit to the amount of area that the game will generate. So, at least it will hit a limit, but poor people like Milky, whose computers like to self-destruct, probably you're going to have some trouble in this section. But probably not too much more than what I get when I'm just kind of soaring around. So these islands, the ones I decided to go for were ones that were kind of dead ends. Or ones that were dead ends, or ones that had a line running through them that you could see the entire edge. Because if I extend the swamp, as I've said before, I want to have the ability to extend the rails without, worrying about cutting back the trees that we so carefully placed. Now, more than once I decided to go for this area right here and then changed my mind. The reasoning for that was... Oh yeah, I was looking at the grades here and going, my god. That could be a fun thing to do. I know a Shay can make it up it, so it's interesting at least. But, what do I end up doing? I mean, I believe I go back to the side of the mountain that faces the tracks, or the standard gauge tracks, and go to work on that, because it's quite something that we need to do. It's one of the more, once again, it's important and prominent and big, and takes a lot of time. With all the time that I've spent texturing just that side of the mountain there, I feel like I've only scratched the surface of what I can do. Now, I come over here, and I think this is where I try the new tactic. So, I decided to find, I max out that, oh, that's right, I paint over the area with, kind of the shoddy, grid tool. I realize that I can do that with the plus and minus keys, and I get kind of amazed. I think that was the plus and minus keys. But, I grab this, and I go to do this. Now, instantly, right off the bat, well, it looks bad, because it's just absolute monotony. But, I decide that, no, I can't see the striations well enough, and I just hit Control-Z and undo it. Thankfully, it didn't take very long, because it was a nice big brush, and if I could create layers, build the striations, then kind of blanket over everything except for them, that would be fantastic, but that unfortunately isn't a feature. And I don't think it will be one in Tane. For the record, or by the way, speaking of Tane, Trains A New Era is coming out, I believe the beta is coming out in the week following this video's release, if not sooner. I unfortunately don't have time to indulge in it yet, but Christmas break is coming up fast, in a few days. I'm currently in the midst of finals. And I will be, you know, what do you call, out there just kind of with plenty of spare time and this computer which hopefully will tolerate Trains A New Era at the very least. I've been having trouble in these games. I realized that the reason I've been having trouble is AVG deciding to kind of scan whenever the hell it feels like. And that was not good, and I need to go remedy that. Because it's, well, it sucks up the, the hard drive capacity for input-output. Because the hard drive in this computer is pitiful. And for a long time I've wanted to get kind of a solid-state drive to supplement it, which would be really cool. But I haven't really had the dough, or when I have had the dough, I haven't had the motivation to go out and buy something like that, because the drive on here isn't nearly full yet. And even though I fill it up at a fever pitch with these videos, it's not getting there. It will eventually, and then I will be in trouble. But external hard drives are something that I will invest in. And I believe I've got an extra slot in there for a hard drive, for a second drive, maybe even more than that, most likely. Anyways. So it's not something I have to worry about right now. It's something that could help, and probably would help in things like Train Fever, and this game when you have the autosaves, Factorio as well. If you notice, I had a couple of spikes very close to one another. That was also the result of thankful AVG. Now this is where things get dicey, and I go, oh no, Trains is falling apart. So we just try to get as much work as I can before, what I expect, I just expect the game to stop, which, happens. But, I just kind of diligently keep working, figuring, I'll salvage what footage I can, if something does happen. Staring up my mountain there, it looks enormous. Realize that the snow line should be about halfway up that mountain, and then decide that I'm not going to deal with the snow line. And only Sterling Hill, whatever we call it, will be getting snowfall on its peak for whatever reason. Freak weather conditions, or maybe evil genius. Just causing snow on one spot. It's not... that doesn't actually strike me as evil genius. It strikes me like kind of dumb genius. If you manage to have a weather machine, just make it snow in one spot. Like Troy. Anyways. We're almost done here. And we've got plenty more to go next episode, so we'll see you guys next week. Remember to tell me what you guys want to see currently. We've got an idea for Run the Shay, thanks to me, and the big modern diesel. Fairman out.